I met a gypsy.
With you get that contract, right? So there's a couple things I want to kind of talk about there, but you get that contract in the US and it's a decent paying deal. How do you deal with the money situation, with knowing that your parents have put in so much money? Because that's something that fucks up so many relationships. It's something that I've never spoke to someone about directly, but I feel like you're open enough to talk about that. Like, you get that first big contract. How when you're a kid essentially, and you've been given that much money, knowing everything that your parents did, how did you approach that situation? Had you and your dad ever spoke about it, or was it like, how does that work?
We did. And I think that's obviously an important part of it. You know, a lot of times I think when you see families where you get these monetary issues, it was because no one was open or discussed it. And dad might be thinking this way and son's thinking that way, or however it goes. And now all of a sudden
there's an elephant in the room.
Issue. Exactly. And no one wants to talk about it. I think generally speaking, maybe that's changing a little bit. But, you know, I knew that my parents, well, you know, when I came over, my mom was already here. It was me and my dad. And my uncle Andrew came over as well, my dad's younger brother. He ended up being my mechanic. So my dad was kind of like a guardian, an agent, a father, all this kind of stuff. And so when I came to America, I was still a little bit nervous because when I signed my contract, I was 17. When I got here, I just turned 18. But at least for me, I know other guys would go, well, yeah, I would have probably not needed my parents around, but I felt like I needed some help and guidance. You know, just it can be a little overwhelming when you're a kid dealing with grown men all the time. You can almost feel potentially a little bit bullied, or uncertain of upsetting the apple cart, or you don't want to say the wrong thing, but you want to tell them the bike needs to be better. So he was able to help me with that. And then also too, I'm not the bad guy, it's him. So sometimes when you hear, oh, his dad's an asshole, it's kind of like, yeah, no, I know that's his job, kind of, is to be the asshole, so it doesn't fall on someone else. But I had structured a deal where my dad was on my payroll, and I remember it was for the first year, and then we were talking, and he was the one that said, here's my thought. You're starting to make pretty good money. He goes, I know you'll blow it if I let you. And he said, what about investing in, you know, we talked about a bike shop, whatever. And he said, that way you're not having to physically pay me to hang around. I can get on my own 2 feet and earn my own living and build something that we have that you will take over and have your retirement basically be here. And I said, let's do it. You know, like, let's start, you know. And of course I'm like, where the fuck do we start? You know, Dad, I need you now, you know, start a business. Let's do this. So there again, I was focused on racing, and, you know, him and my mom started working on the plans and the location and all that. And we just did it as a team, and we built it from, you know, just a little mom and pop shop near Elsinore track to a multi-line dealership that's a little further away, but next to the freeway. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, even today I was in the shop. I'm like, we have so much product in here. It's unbelievable. Like, we went a little ham during the COVID. You know, when other people were getting nervous and closing and canceling orders, I saw this spike, and I'm like, I think we need to pony up and hit this head on. Wow. And we did, and we had a sensational last, you know, I would say at least a year where it was just crazy, and a lot of people ran out of product and that, and we were at the right place, right time. So it's cool. My parents are building their dream retirement house at the moment up on the hill, and they're probably going to phase out, and I'll run it for a while, and then who knows after that? If they're out and I'm bored, maybe I'll look for something different. But at the moment, we've got this good family working relationship, and through all of it, I'm still impressed that we've been able to keep it nice and clean.
That's sensational, dude. Like, to do what you guys have done as a family. Like, honestly, I knew bits and pieces of the story, but not this detail. Like, it is fucking unreal.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, where I'm glad is everything was kind of talked about in advance. So, I know like some people are like, yeah, well, like I've heard some kids say, yeah, my parents took my money. And I'm like, yeah, but I know your parents mortgaged the house and this and that. Were you prepared to help them? Well, and they kind of look like, yeah, but it's my money. I go, I agree. And fair enough. That's your opinion. It is your money. But my thing was, I knew from the evenings when my parents were, arguing over financial issues and racing, what they went through and where they came from. So there was never any resentment to help my parents out either. And I think sometimes for kids, they get so used to this. It's because you don't realize it as a racer, but we're actually all become pretty selfish because you get to a point where you're paid a lot of money and there's a team of people running around after you, and some of them are kissing your ass because that's kind of their job. They want to make sure that they're still the agent
still got a
or whoever,
job.
But yeah, they want to keep their job, and then, obviously there's your parents going, my dad would always be the first to go, God, that guy's a cocksucker. Like, just stay away from him. He'll tell you whatever you want to hear, I'll tell it to you straight. I'm like, oh, I know. So, that old saying, blood is thicker than water. And through it all, we were always able to figure it out. Even if it was a bit of a debate or a back and forth, I feel like we've always walked away at least going, I'm happy, he's happy, she's happy, cool. Let's do this. You're always better off working as a team than everyone kind of being pissy with each other and going in their own direction, I think. Yeah, man. Honestly, that is a sensational story, and I think that's something that, a lot of kids could kind of look towards. Because I've heard some horror stories, dude, like legitimate horror stories. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.